All right, guys, so we are all about getting ready for Wednesday's quiz today. It is all on Conics. And I will tell you this, I am not going to give a whole bunch of extra time. If you have not done any of the practice, you are going to run out of time. If you don't know how to use that pink sheet and you know how to do these and you know what you're doing, you're going to run out of time, okay? If you have done all of the homework and you still run out of time, then we'll talk. All right? Worksheet 9. Question was asked about number. This one? Okay. You can skip 8, guys. I know it was left on your worksheet, but it has fractions. So if you want to skip it, I'm okay with that. This one, if we move the, there's no x term anywhere, right? So we're just going to have an x squared. But then if we take a 9 out of the y's, we'll have a y squared minus 4y because we're taking out a negative 9. I lost you already, guys? Okay. Plus blank equals, and we're moving the constant over to the other side. And we really only need one blank over there. Then what? Half of this is negative 2, but when we square it, it becomes positive 4. But what are we adding then, actually? Yeah, negative 9 times 4. So 45 minus 36 is 9. Can you tell what it is yet? Has a minus in here, so I'm thinking it's a hyperbola, yes? But if it's a hyperbola, it's supposed to equal what? So let's divide everything by a 9. So I have x squared over 9 minus y minus 2 quantity squared over 1 equals 1. What do they want to know? If it's a hyperbola, give the center and the foci? Ugh. Center's not hard. Where's the center, guys? I got 0, 2. Everybody okay? The foci, to find the foci, we need c. Anybody know the formula when it's a hyperbola? C equals square root of a squared plus b squared. So a squared is 9, b squared is 1, so c is square root of 10. All right, and for which way is this guy opening? Yep, the x squared is positive, so it's going this way. So on the pink sheet, what does it say for foci? So we will have 0 plus or minus square root of 10, comma 2. So we can just write that. Good question. Good practice. Anything else on 9? A or B? Number 10 on the same one? Yep. What's happening here this time, guys? We have an x squared plus an 8x. And then we have a 4y squared, but there's no y to go with it, right? Equals 48. So what will I get when I complete the square? And that'll be a 16. So over here I have to add 16, which comes out a very nice. How do I know what this is? It has a squared x and a squared y, so it can't be a parabola. It has a plus in between the x squared and the y squared, so it can't be a hyperbola. How do I know if it's a circle or an ellipse? Yeah, because the coefficient here, okay, If I left that, that means there's a stretch in one direction and there's not a coefficient here other than 1. So then I'm going to divide everything by 64. Now, if I got to this point at the end and the a squared and the b squared were the same, which they're not on this one, but what would it mean if a squared and b squared were the same number? It would actually be a circle, yeah, because it means you went out, that on your supposed ellipse, you went the same way, same amount, both directions, so it would end up being a circle. This is not, this is an ellipse. Center, anybody? Okay, so there's our center. How do we find foci? Okay, C for an ellipse is a squared minus b squared, and a squared is the bigger one, right? Otherwise, you have square root of a negative number. What is that? 48? Which simplifies as 16 times 3. So 4 square roots of 3. Okay, and it's added onto which way? This one has a major axis longer this way, right? Negative 4, 0, it's going that way. So it's added onto h. So it's negative 4 plus or minus 4 square roots of 3. Are you asking about this one or a different one? Okay. This one? This was a hyperbola. Were you looking at hyperbolas? Because it had a minus in here. Okay. If you have an x squared and a y squared, it can't be a parabola. And if one of those squared is negative, then it's going to be a hyperbola. Okay. Yes. Are we okay? Going to 9B was asked about number 6. Okay. We need to get this in a form that looks like y minus k equals 4p x minus h. Wait a minute. I always get this wrong. What do they put the 4p on? The squared or non-squared? It is the non-squared, right? Okay, so I'm just kidding. If we have a y with an x squared, we're going to do x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. This is the form we wanted in. Okay. So if I have an x squared minus 14x, and I have on the other side a y, and I move the 5 over there. Now I wrote that. All I did was subtract the 5 over here, and then I just flopped sides. Everybody okay? I know it's so complicated. Okay, now what? Complete the square over here, and we'll have what? Squared, which means we added a 49. Y plus 44. That's a nice small number. Do we have something being multiplied by the y? No, so our 4p is equal to what? 1. So h is 7, k is negative 44. Glad I don't have to graph this. And 4p equals 1, so p is 1/4. Now, it had an x squared with a positive p. X squared with a positive p means it's opening which way? X is squared, so it's opening up or down. P is positive, so it's opening up. All right, so vertex is at HK, so we're at 7, negative 44. Focus, if it's opening up, it says H, comma, K plus P. So we have 7, comma, negative 44 plus 1/4, which would be negative 43 3/4. Can I just put a decimal? I would take that. You can get a fraction if you want. And the directrix, the equation of the directrix is y equals k minus p. So it'll be y equals negative 44 minus 1/4. Negative 44.25 works for me. Good question. Okay, we're moving on to worksheet 10A unless someone else has got a question on 9. Okay, 10A. Number what? Number 1. Okay, hyperbola has vertices, I'm sketching, 5, 0, and negative 5, 0. Okay. What's a hyperbola, first of all? 2 u's, right? And if they line up this way, and those are the vertices, which way they open in? Like this, okay? So what does that mean the general form is? It's not bigger, but it's positive. Yeah. It's got to be something like this, right? So it's not A. That didn't help much. Okay. All right, guys. Conceptually, what are the vertices of a hyperbola when it's opening that direction? What does it say on your sheet? Okay. Well, we're at 0, 0, right? For H and K. So plus or minus A, 0, it says are the vertices, which are at plus or minus 5, 0. So we know A is what? 5. And where does A go? A squared goes under the positive term, so I don't know why I wrote that right there, so it'd be in the way, but this is A squared under here, so we'd get 25. So it's got to be D. If C is actually the distance from the center to the focus, so C is 6. So then if you did C squared equals A squared plus B squared, if you subtracted there, you'd get B squared is 11, and that's what you need here just to finish it. But by process of elimination, it had to be D. Somebody else? Anything on 10A or B? Number 6, somebody asked about down here earlier. This is on 10A. Somebody in the other class asked, which is not a line of symmetry for this? What is this shape right here? Circle of radius 5. Okay. At the center, right? At the origin, I mean? Whose center is at the origin? Let me try to make that make sense. How many lines of symmetry does a circle have? Infinite, right? But they have to go through where? They have to go through the center. Well, if the center is 0, 0, any line that goes through 0, 0, oh, big dot theorem. Okay, does this go through 0, 0? Does this? Right? 2 times 0 equals 3 times 0? 3 times 0 equals 3 times 0? But does this one go through 0, 0? Nope. So that's the one that is not a line of symmetry. I kind of liked it. It was a think about it question. It kind of made sense, but yeah, no, not on the quiz. Something else on 10A or B? There's domain and range, not on the quiz, but they're not that tricky. You graph them, right? Left to right, top to bottom, domain and range. Like number 7 is just a what? That's a circle who's how far across? 8. So the domain and range would be what? 8. It asks for domain, so we need which one? X's or Y's for domain? So 7 is F. More? No? We're good? Okay. Notice what it says at the top of worksheet 11 on my notes. Oh, these are like the quiz on Wednesday. With some exceptions, okay? Worksheets 11 and 12 look like the quiz. The quiz is a little bit shorter. And there are a couple questions on here that I will tell you I took off the quiz or I didn't put on the quiz. I didn't put any of the questions that say conjugate axis or transverse axis or the length of those, okay? We can do those on here, get them out of the way, but they're not on the quiz. So what can I talk about? Do we need to talk about graphing a parabola? Do we need to talk about, number 5 is a little tricky. It's actually not, this exact kind of question isn't on the quiz, but there's a similar question, I'll put it that way. How do you find the transformational form of anything? You need to complete the square. So what do I need to do here to be able to complete the square? So I'm going to add the 135 over here. Is that okay? And then I'm going to, I guess I should put a plus blank over there while I'm at it. And then over here on those x's, I need the coefficient to be 1. So I'm going to take out a -2. That'll leave an x squared plus 16x, right? Yep. Half of 16 is plus 8. Squaring that would be what's called. Squaring that, 8 squared is 64. But it's there -2 times. So -2 times 64 is -128. Added to 135 is a +7 over there. Now, I can't ever remember this. On your sheet with a parabola, they put 4p has to be on the non-squared side, right? So we need to divide this guy over here. So if we divide both sides by -2, we'll have a -1/2 times a y plus 7 equals x plus 8 squared. Now it's kind of backwards of what's written on your sheet, but it's 4p y minus k equals x minus h squared. All it asked was you to get it in the form, but does it kind of match up now? If you wanted to flip-flop the sides, you could. All right. The actual question on the quiz that requires you to do this asks you to state what it is now that you did that. It's a parabola because it's not in the directions at that point. And then it says find the eccentricity. Eccentricity is C over A, except there's 2 figures for which you have to have it memorized. Do you remember? It's not on the pink sheet for which 2 figures? Circle and a parabola, okay? The definition is on there, I think. It says distance over, distance between foci over distance between vertices. Well, a parabola has how many foci and how many vertices? One. One of each, right? That's how I remember that the parabola has the eccentricity of 1. On the other hand, a circle, how far apart are the foci, the pieces of tape, when you make it into a circle? None, right? So that's circle has eccentricity 0. The other way to think about it is it has to do with stretch. Is there any stretch either way on a circle? No, so it's 0. There is stretch on a parabola, but it has to do with the p, not the eccentricity. So we're just going to go with 1. Trying to help you ways to remember it. I'm probably messing the definitions up, but if that helps you remember it. Okay. Do you want to do something more with a parabola or you want to move on? I don't care. Can I do this one real quick? We had some really hard ones in the book where they gave you the point it was through. What made them hard was because it didn't give you the vertex. This one is not hard because it gives you the vertex. So it even tells you it opens up or down. What's the general form if it opens up or down? Okay, what do you know? Oh, there's H and there's K. What else do you have? Which means we have X and a Y. Do you think we could solve now and find what? Yeah, the P or the 4P would be great. So if X is 4 and H is 1, oops, I don't know why I wrote a comma there. Minus 1 squared equals 4P. Y is 6 minus negative 3 would be plus 3. So this is 4 minus 1 is 3, squared is 9. Over here I have a 4P times a 6 plus 3, which is also a 9. So if I divide both sides by 9, I get 4P is 1. Now, you can go ahead and find P is 1/4. But when I put it back in the equation, all I want is 4P anyway, right? It doesn't really matter. So it's X minus H, which was 1, squared equals 4P, which would be 1. Even if P is 1/4, when you plug it back in there, 4 times 1/4 is 1. And then it's Y minus K, which is negative 3, so plus 3. So there's our equation. Do you have to have the 1 out there? No. How we doing? That one seem okay? That one wasn't so bad? All right, what about, we got ellipses next. You want a graph, you want to complete the square, you want to write an equation. Okay. Let's talk about 13 real quick. When you have, I always sketch. This one says go over 4 and up 3, go over 4 and down 23. So which way is this one longer? It's going up and down, right? Okay. So the general form, X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared equals 1. And if it's longer up and down, then the bigger number goes under what? So it would look like this on your sheet. Because remember, for an ellipse, A is greater than B. Is that what it says on your sheet written in the corner for you? Okay. What do we need? We don't have anything yet. We need the center. How do you find the center? Midpoint of either one of these sets of points, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's 4, and you add and divide by 2. If you can't find the midpoint, you're really in trouble, guys. 3 plus negative 23 is negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. So we're already at x minus 4 squared plus y plus 10 squared equals 1. All right, now, if you're a recipe follower, you go to your sheet, and it says for one that opens, or the one that's longer this way, the vertices are at h comma k plus or minus a. Well, I know h is 4 and k is negative 10, but I also know that there's a vertice at 4, 3. What does that make a? If I set this equal to this, I get a is 13. Or negative 13, but it doesn't matter because we're going to square it, okay? 169. Now, which does that go under again? So it's 169. If you're not a recipe follower, this is 2a, right? The length of the major axis is 2a. So from there to there was 26 units, yes, because it was positive 3 to negative 23. So 26 units makes a 13. All right. If you're not a recipe follower, what's the definition of the distance between these guys? Yeah, that's 2c. So those two, which I didn't graph in the right place at all, it's supposed to be up there, but anyway. Those two are 24 units apart. So 2c would be 24 or c would be 12. Now, if you're a recipe follower, you went to your sheet and you wrote down foci are at h comma k plus or minus c. Well, that's 4 comma negative 10 plus or minus c, and they told me one of the foci was at 4, 2. Doesn't that make c 12 right there? Negative 10 plus c equals 2, c is 12. I don't want c. I want b. So what's the formula for this? C squared equals a squared minus b squared. Yep, gotta be careful. Look at your sheet. But it's 169 minus b squared equals 144. 25? 169 from 144 is negative 25. Divide by the negative 1 in front of the b, and you get 25 is b squared. If you can do them conceptually, absolutely not. Nope, I would rather not use the recipes. I'm just trying to make sure I explain it both ways because a lot of people need the recipes. This one, guys, I actually took this question off the quiz, but what is the idea? The endpoints of the major axis. Look at this picture on here. What letter is at the end of the major axis? B. B, or vertices. This is really just telling us the vertices. Okay, so therefore it is identical to question 13, yes? Okay, so you can write vertices there and do that one. It's good practice, but I took the one that actually said endpoints of the major axis off the quiz, just because it was basically two of the same question, okay? What else do you want me to do? This one? Okay. We know H and K. Let's see, if I graph this, 1, negative 3 is down here. There's a vertex at negative 4, negative 3, and a focus at positive 4, negative 3. Okay. It's an ellipse. What do you know? Yeah, it goes like this, right? It goes something there. I didn't draw it well at all, but there's another foci over here and there's another vertex over here. All right. So we know H and K. What else do we know? From a center to a vertex, if you're smart, conceptually, is A. How far apart are those from 1 to negative 4? Okay. And from the center to the focus is C. From 1 to 4 is 3. I think we're almost done, aren't we? C squared equals A squared minus B squared. So 25, 9, 16. Okay. How does this go? X minus 1 squared, y minus plus 3 squared. Okay, where does the 16 go? Yeah, because it's a shorter way, right? And the longer way was A, which was 5. Do you understand where you're going to run out of time if you've not practiced this at all? If you have to look at the recipe sheet and struggle with every single one. I think we need to spend some more time on hyperbolas, maybe. Do you want to graph one, or you want to complete the square to graph one? All right, we're going to run out of time to do some things I wanted to talk about here. Let's do 18 real fast. Take out a 9. We'd have x squared plus 2x plus blank. Take out a negative 1, right? So y squared plus 2y plus blank equals 1 plus a couple blanks over there. Can I go fast? Yeah. X plus 1 quantity squared. We're adding a 1 9 times. Minus 1 y plus 1 squared. Subtracting a 1 once. So I got a 9 over there. If I divide everything by 9, okay. I have x plus 1 quantity squared over 1 minus y plus 1 quantity squared over 9 equals 1. Tyseer, tell me something, anything. Okay, what do I draw next? A rectangle, yes. In the x direction, it goes how far? 1 either way. In the y direction, it goes 3 up and 3 down. Yes, absolutely, guys. Feel free to use colored pencils, markers, highlighters, anything you want to make this easier for you. I have colored pencils and markers and highlighters all in the room if you need to borrow them. This one opens which way? The x is positive, so this is a squared and this is b squared this time, because a squared is always under the positive term, okay? So it opens this way, because the x squared is the positive, so it opens around the x-axis-ish. So those vertices were at -2, -1, and the other one was at 0, -1. What are we missing? Asymptotes and foci. Foci, we got to find c, and c squared equals a squared plus b squared for hyperbola. So we'll have square root of 1 plus 9 is 10. And they are inside, so we're adding that onto the x, so it's -1 plus or minus square root of 10, comma, -1. Should be about 3 units from the center. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just over that, but there's, whoops, those are foci, just kidding. Asymptotes. y minus k, which was y plus 1, right? Equals plus or minus some slope and x minus h, which was x plus 1. Okay, the slope is either a over b or b over a. Or if you're Hofbauer, it's the change in y over change in x. But remember, it's not squared, so it's 3 over 1, or b over a on your sheet, so it's just 3. And you can leave it in that form. Is that what we did, guys? This line went up 3 and over 1, right? When we drew the asymptote? No. It gives you blanks for everything. Make sure your graph, yeah, I don't care about the foci on the picture so much, but make sure that your asymptotes are accurate and so that your picture looks pretty good. Okay. No, you can leave the foci off. All right. I would like to talk about eccentricity. We can come back. Oh, we should do 22. I'm gonna skip around. I'm gonna come back to 22 in a minute. Or you want me to do 22 now? Okay. There is a question like this on the quiz, so don't hate. Okay. The center is the midpoint, right? What is the midpoint of the vertices, guys? 22 plus negative 2 is 20, divided by 2 is 10. Okay, so there's H and K. Yeah, this is a hyperbola. Good question. If we do a really little sketch, it goes over 3 and up 22 and over 3 and down 2, so it's opening up and down because the vertices tell us, right? So what do I know comes first? Look on your worksheets, your pink sheets. It's y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. I put in the h and k already, but everybody okay? Found that, what did I do wrong? I figured it was opening up and down by graphing it, but you could have also looked on the sheet and seen that the vertices don't change. Yeah, h is constant on the vertices, so that means it opens up and down. I like to graph it. It makes more sense to me, but all right. A and B. What does this tell us, guys? Almost A and B. Unfortunately, it says A over B is the slope. But if we're missing 2 things, does it necessarily have to be a 3 and a 2? It could have been a 6 and a 4 or a 30 and a 20, right? We got to find something else out. We can find A right here. If you're using the formula, it says HK plus or minus A gives you the vertices. Well, 3 comma K plus, wait a minute, I know K. Okay. H is 3, K is 10, and a vertice was at 322, so that means A had to be what? 12? So if A is 12, I can fill that in under here. That's a 144. But now can I find B by doing what? Little cross multiply and divide. I get B is 8, so under here goes a 64 or 8 squared. I don't care. I know it's messy, but did you follow? I don't want to take time to rewrite it. Okay. I am going to problem number 27. because this one was a struggle for the other classes today. I need the, does anybody know what shape this is going to be already? It is a hyperbola. Why is it a hyperbola? Okay, it has an x squared and a y squared. It has one negative and one positive. Now, if you do the x squareds first, you're taking out a -9. And out of the y's, you can take out a 4, but you don't even have to complete the square on that one, right? Did I lose anybody? The fact that there's only a y squared, there is no y term? We okay? All right, so half of 4 is 2, squared is a 4. -9 times 4 is -36. I know you want to smack me right now because I'm going really fast. I just don't want to run out of time. What's the trick, guys? Yeah, I'm going to divide by 36, but I'm thinking I also maybe want to rearrange this so that it says y squared first over 9 minus x plus 2 squared over 9 goes into 36 4 times equals 1, so that I have a form that looks a little better. Then I will write hyperbola, which does not start with an E. And what else does this say to find? We haven't talked about this all day, I don't think, have we? Eccentricity is C over A. That definition is on the back of your pink sheet. What's A? On this, it's the positive one, not necessarily the bigger one, but it is A squared is 9, so A is 3. How do we find C? A squared plus B squared, so we get square root of 13. I'm skipping a lot of steps. Did I just... What? Yeah, I can leave, except I made it a big hot mess because I wrote equal signs everywhere. Yeah, you can just say it's square root of 13 over 3. If you check it, it should be greater than 1 or less than 1 for hyperbola. Greater than 1, it says, and that is, okay? I'm going to go back and do, this is an ellipse, guys. This says, give me the eccentricity. I got seconds left. What's A? On an ellipse, A is the bigger one, so A is 5. On an ellipse, to find C, you subtract. So I get C is 3. So eccentricity is C over A. For an ellipse, it's supposed to be less than 1. Okay, before you leave, circle. Eccentricity is 0. Parabola, eccentricity is 1. Okay. Tomorrow we're starting parametrics, but if you have more questions on any of these worksheets, let me know and we'll try to squeeze that in as well.